didn't go. All right. What? There we are. We are live. Holy smokes. Beautiful thing called the internet. Geez, I was like, Trish, we're not going to be live. Here we are. What's happening? Man, so good to see you. I feel like it's been a couple of years.
It's crazy.
A while. Just super excited. We were running through with Iva, just guest list. And I was like, got to get Tricia back on. So good to have you back on. I mean, shoot, we've been chatting away for the last 15 minutes, just even before we hit go, about the industry, the moves, the players. Why did they do this? Why did they do that? So we can definitely jump back in and touch on that. But I want to open it up, for you. You've been in the game a minute. What are we both? Over 20 years now in this
23 years,
industry. Holy folks. And you've sold a truckload of real estate personally, also with, the companies that you've built up and down the scale, like seems like all of us, just kind of the ebbs and flows, brokerage, back into, own company, back into, one of the new emerging models, staging company, event center, community, like you've done it all. And there's so many ways that we can go, but I'm going to just tee it up for you, just allow you to do kind of just an open intro about yourself and, really where your mindset and your focus is right now, that we feel is the most critical. And maybe, give a quick intro, Trish, and then maybe we can even start where we started with, Tim Heil's, article that we were talking about. I think that might be a good jumping off point because, like I said, you and I have a lot of history in this game. We can go a lot of different ways. So indeed. I'm going to just allow you to take the floor and, share about yourself, and then definitely kind of where your focus and mindset is right now.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, John. You guys, I've been doing this for a long time, 23 years in the business. I am a broker here in Texas. I'm still in production. Like that's the craziest thing is that, John said I've sold I don't even know how many homes, hundreds and hundreds of homes. I'm still in listing appointments. I run a team here in Houston. We have about 12 agents on our team now. We go deep with them. I'm on listing appointments with them all the time. And, in 2022, when this market shifted, which was June of 2022, it's crazy because John and I were talking about this before we started. When the market's going good, the COVID market, especially, like we had never seen anything like that where everything's selling, anything's selling, didn't really matter what you did, it's selling. And we all rode that ride for 18 months and how long it went. And then it came to like a screeching halt. Mm-hmm. And we saw, if we were paying attention, indicators that things were starting to shift and things were not looking as pretty, but no one predicted like where we were going to go and how long we were going to be in this, like, we're just trying to stay afloat now. And it's crazy because that shift for us, like we're selling over 300 homes a year. All of a sudden 2022 rolls along. And by third quarter, 2022, our closings pause, like all of a sudden fourth quarter rolls along and we're like, what happened? Like we have nothing going on. They have no offers on our listings. We run a listing heavy team. So we have 30 and 40 active listings at all times. And it was a big eye opener for me. We were flipping houses too. And so we were still buying houses because we're like, interest rates are here. We're going to get back to what we had been accustomed to for a decade, which was low interest rates and a pretty steady, even flow of buyers and sellers, right? You get used to that rhythm. You get used to the amount of money coming in and out. And 2023 and 2024 for me were probably, in my 23 years of doing this, which means going through the 2008 crash, probably two of my hardest years of my career because it was relentless. It was relentless and there was no reason. Like, I don't know why no one's coming to see this new listing. I don't know why we're getting no offers. And surely this is going to end. And we kept saying that. And all the economists were saying that this is going to end and this quarter is going to get better. And yet it didn't. And then it didn't. And it didn't. And I believe for me, I can speak from experience there. We didn't cut enough expenses when we should have because we thought it was going to be temporary, right? Sure. And so we overspent. We didn't cut off some of the marketing dollars. We didn't cut off some of the staff because we figured, well, we're going to be prepared when it ramps back up, right? And we're still there 4 years later now. And, you know, when I told you about Tim Howe's little thing that he put on podcast yesterday, he's the CEO of Homeward, and he's built Homeward in 2022 during this. And he said it was taking this hard market to expose the holes in his business, because he built the business when things were great. And when things are great and everyone's got plenty of money and plenty of sales, you don't see the things that are really taking you down until it's kind of like you always talked about, like those cracks when you're letting in just that little bit of water, and you start taking on a little bit, but you're still all right. And then a little bit more, and then a little. That's where we're in 2026. And a lot of people, like Homeward's had to restructure. We've had to restructure. A lot of people went out of business. And when you look at stats, and you're like 84% of real estate agents haven't sold but one home in 2 years. Like, I don't know, John. It's crazy.
Yeah, it really is. And, you know, you look at, like you were saying, getting rewarded for bad behavior. And it was one of the things that we always noticed growing up in, you know, a low price point market like Lawton. One of the things that we always noticed in all the rooms that we got into, people doing things in bigger margin markets, right? Higher price point markets. And we're like, I remember we would look at each other and we're like, dude, we couldn't do that. We couldn't get away with that. We'd go bankrupt. Like, we'd be out of money. Like, there's just not enough money to make it work. Whereas, you know, you have some of these folks cashing, you know, 25, 30, 40,000, $50,000 commission checks. You can cover a lot of ground and make up for a lot of mistakes in those higher price point markets than what you can do, you know, when margins are super tight and every penny matters. And I think that's, you know, like for us, and we were talking about Eddie in Chicago, but one of the things, like even for us, like we had to do everything. Like you said, you know, we had to go flip the houses. We had to look at staging. We had to look at, you know, title and mortgage and, you know, oh, get into new construction. Oh, get into developments. Like we had to get into everything. And I know, you know, we were talking about, you know, Eddie, founder of ROA. I mean, that was one of the things that I admired kind of looking at his story. I was like, dude, we did all of that a lot, but he's doing it in Chicago. Oh, and he recruited 500 agents into his brokerage. Got it. This guy's playing on a whole nother level. But it's those things that you kind of have to do out of necessity instead of, you know, chasing bigger commission checks and developing bad habits. That was the whole point that we were talking about with Tim's article, is like, you know, it's going to expose your weaknesses in this market big time.
And I think too, in our industry, you know, when you look at when that first stat came out, was 70% of agents hadn't sold a home, and it was in 2024. And then we repeated it in 2025. I said at the beginning of this year, I told our team, I said, I think this is going to be our most disruptive year in real estate ever. And one of our hardest. Well, who knew we were going to see all the mergers and acquisitions that we've seen? I said that in January. And here we are almost in June. Interest rates are at 6.6 today. Buyers are like, I don't want to buy. And it's the craziest thing. I just led our team meeting and I told our agents, I said, a lot of you guys haven't been in real estate more than 3 years, so you don't know anything better. You guys thankfully don't fall into that 84%. Y'all are producing and you'll continue to. But the industry as a whole is not doing well. It's not sustainable. And I'm okay if we lose a bunch of agents because they can't sustain another year of no sales. I think we need to shape up.
I would agree 100%. I mean, we've talked about it, the whole, you know, Darwinian thinning of the herd, right? Like, we need to clean a lot of the bloat out. And it's what just the conversations always having is like, you know, your number one competitor in your market is not your biggest threat. Your biggest threat is the agent that only sells 2 to 3 to 4 houses a year, just because they're not getting enough reps to stay out at the forefront. And, you know, one of the biggest eye openers for me about a year ago was listening to Eric post from Whoosy. You know, he's just like, hey, Kitch, do you know what the number one customer complaint is right now? And I'm like, well, I mean, forever, it's always been communication, right? Just poor communication, lack of communication. He said, yeah, it has been for decades. He said, however, the number one customer complaint, which shifted a little over a year ago, was, I believe I know more than my real estate agent. I'm like, well, of course. I mean, if you only sell one house every 2 years, 84%, that means over 800,000 agents only sell one house every 2 years. Trish, of course, as a consumer, you're going to know more than your real estate agent. They're just not getting enough reps to make that possible. So it really is just interesting, kind of time that we're in. And I think we would have seen some of this jockeying of consolidation. Pandemic just delayed it a few years. We were right there. We were about to see it. I remember a lot of the conversations with old cousin Cliff Freeman, and Cliff was like calling, okay, here's watch this. We're going to start seeing this. We're going to see this, watch this. And so of course that was, got delayed, got punted down the field a little bit. And then all of a sudden, boom, here we are, starting to see these consolidations, and you're starting to see kind of the emergence, like ROA that we had talked about. You're starting to see, okay, this is where the game's at. Let's go play this game. Let's not take any debt. Let's just, focus on revenue, get a few amazing agents like yourself, and let's build a foundation, from there, and build that community, which I know community is really important to you. That's always been kind of your I don't want to say default factor, but it's always been pretty much the default factor was, who am I surrounding myself with? How important is the community? And then talk about the community that you're focused on growing right now.
Yeah. It's so funny that you said that, because, here's what I believe. And I have these conversations with people all the time. I had my own independent brokerage. That's not profitable. And I did it on the discount broker model where, they pay monthly dues and they pay a transaction fee. So I know the numbers and I know how it has to work. It's not profitable. So I'm even amazed that there's some that even exist still, because it isn't profitable. And I've been in production like this whole time, and my production is what carried it. And then you had the emergence of this rev share model, which is Glenn Sanford, EXP, all day long. They pioneered the model. Well, I told this, and I tell this to people all the time. Okay, and then there's Real and ROA, and there's a couple other people that have come into the space. Most of them are based on an 80-20 split or an 85-15 split. That's the model. There's monthly dues in some, and there's not monthly dues in some. That's the model. And then the one of the awards, of course, is stock. If the company's gone public, then you become a shareholder and you actually become an owner of the company. That's the difference. So when you're looking at, well, if I want to go to Keller Williams, or if I want to go to Gary Green or Coldwell Banker, which are all now basically Compass agents, what does that look like? And I tell people, I'm like, it's the same thing. You can go join a KW office and be on a 70-30 split. You can join Gary Green. I think they're on 60-40 or something like that. But at the end of the day, when they decide to sell or shut down or whatever they do, then you leave and go find another brokerage. In the rev share, cloud-based, whatever you want to call it, the new model is what we call it. EXP, Real, and Realty of America is pretty much the ones I refer to. It's different. You're a shareholder. You actually have ownership in the company. You have other streams of income. There isn't just, well, we're going to sell the company today and see you later. You have shares of the company if they've gone public. That's the way of the future. And Eddie, founder of Realty of America, that's what he said. He's like, he had a traditional model. He had everybody on an 80-20 split. He had all these agents, 400 to 500 agents at all times, producing a high level. They were on all kinds of splits with him as the broker. But like he said, that's not the way of the future. Mm-hmm. This is the way of the future. Taking your company public, having real estate agents help build it and have stock in the company, have ownership. That's the way of the future. And when you look at the real estate population, if you're a business person, if there's say 2 million agents as a whole in the real estate world space, at the time when Eddie was first thinking about it, well, 97% of them were in the traditional models, independent franchise model, something of that. Only 3% were in the rev share cloud-based model. Now that number, the data shows, is 93% are in now the rev share cloud-based model, because it's the way of the future. Well, and that was even before Remax was trying to become part of it. So it's it's a different model. And what if you're looking at one versus the other, if I'm going to pay a split, which you should, because there's got to be company generated dollars, if I'm paying anybody 80-20 or 85-15, why would I not want the option to earn stock in the company too? It doesn't make sense, John.
Yeah, no, in it really is, compensation drives behavior. So always a great reminder. And that's what was brilliant about, the agent centric model, if you will, is, just giving ownership back to the agents, is that when you throw in rev share, now compensation drives behavior. Now there's an incentive for you to want the company to sell more, to produce more for the people,
sure.
Agents. So it's kind of a built-in accountability ecosystem that pushes people, to want to help other agents instead of creating these silos that we all know. I mean, even, like us in Caldwell Banker days, I mean, compete with the other Caldwell Banker agents. Like, I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing, right?
No.
To come in and try to take any of our trade secrets, which is laughable now, but that's really kind of the mindset around everything. So it really is the way forward into the future. So it's going to be kind of the jockeying, but the model is the model. It's going to be really the only way into the future as more and more of these legacy brands continue to, consolidate or fade off into the sunset. But
I'll tell you what I think though, John, when going back to community, what you mentioned, I believe that when this market shifted, like I think when the going was good and everybody was selling, it didn't really matter what you did or your environment, because you could stick literally a for sale sign in dirt and it would sell. But we're not there anymore. And we haven't been now 4 years. And if you look at the last 4 years, by 23, people were looking for that community, like they were lost and alone. And I don't know what to do. I can't pay my bills. I don't know how to get this listing sold. Where do I find buyers? People were like grasping for help. Somebody help me. And I think in my opinion, the ones that are winning and will win are the ones that are help me, are the ones that are doing that. And because I come from that, no one ever did it for me. I went through a divorce and my kids were little and I have a special needs kid. And, I was at the traditional brokerages. I've been at Caldwell Banker, Gary Green, KW. I've been at all of them. And no one ever helped me. No one ever gave me a lead. No one ever said, here, learn this. I was at Remax. It was one of those environments where they're like, oh, I'm not telling her because she's a hustler. Like she'll just go outsell me. And so I did. I went and figured it out. Right. And that's why I opened my own brokerage, because I don't want anyone to have to figure it out. I'll show you. I'll teach you how to do this. And that's why I still now do this almost 10 years later of running my own brokerage, running my own community, and what I've created now. And we built it. We spent like all of 24 is the latter part of 2024 when things got really just so bad. And I was like, oh my gosh, this market sucks. It was like a calling. I gotta find a way to reach the masses and really pull people, not just locally, but a whole group, like build a community of people. Somebody's got to step up and show these people how to do this and how to survive. And so we built this community. It's the Rise and Thrive community. And it was the craziest thing, because when I joined Realty of America, I was building something within Real already, and listings are my specialty. I go on listing appointments almost every day. Still, I can go into any house. I'm comfortable at any price point, whether it's $10 or 10 million. I'm amazing at running. It's just my God-given gift. He speaks to me, and it all makes sense. Stats. I study the stats like crazy. And so when we were with Real, I had written out this listing course, and Real had an academy, and they were like, we want you to put this listing course inside the academy, and we want you to come in and teach in the world and make it a 6-week course. And of course it was going to become property of Real. And so I wrote this course out. It's everything that I do with listings and a whole big training. And long story short, it was like divine. It was crazy. The guy that was running the academy quit and went to work. He opened up his own company, kind of a competitor to what Real was doing, like a software thing. And so the academy, the listing course that I was going to give to them, stopped. And all of a sudden, like my Zoom didn't show up. And I was like, well, that's crazy. Like, what happened? Well, come to find out, this guy quit. And so when in the interim, it went like 4 to 6 weeks before I was going to come back into the academy and give them my listing course. I had heard about Realty of America opening. And so I never gave them my course. And so I went and had this conversation with Mark, and then I got on the phone with Eddie, and Eddie was like, Tricia, I'm looking for people that want to give me, commit to the next 3 to 5 years of really pouring in and building what I think will be the greatest real estate company in America. Like, we want agents that want to train agents. We want agents that want to show people, like, that aren't afraid to do the work. We're not going to buy people. We're not going to do any of that. And he said, I believe we can build the greatest real estate company in America. And I was like, I'm in. And it was crazy. Literally at that moment, it's been 1.5 years now. My listing course, I didn't even ever launch the course. I pretty much just turned it into part of our success training, which Chad Smith, of course, runs in the vault. And it helped us form our online community that meets every morning. And I go out and train agents on this, and I train them all throughout Realty of America. And it's a beautiful thing, because I'm not just training agents that are on our team. I'm not just training agents that are, I'm the sponsor of. It's anybody. All the anchor partners reach out to me. They send people to the Zoom because they trust that I know what I'm talking about, number one. And they know that my vision is that no one's left behind. Like, at the end of the day, and this is a Zoom that we do Monday through Friday at 8:30 a.m. every morning. I know at least that day, if they learn nothing else that day, I've given them the stats for the day, what to say that day, whether they're talking to buyers and sellers. And I know I've done my part to help our community and our industry be better. And I think people are seeking that, and there's not enough people doing it.
I love it. I mean, I think that's some of the hard truths about the industry right now, right? And we talked about, north of 84%, somewhere in there, that have only sold one home in the last 2 years. What do you think the biggest skill gap that you see consistently, skill gap that's lacking to why these, agents are struggling so much?
Well, I say it all the time, like 95% of our agents are unskilled, untrained, and lazy. Someone's given them this misconception about what your workday needs to look like. It's the lunch bunch. They're the ones on social media at every stinking happy hour, at every broker's lunch. They don't sell anything, but they can eat and drink for free all day long and take pictures on social media. Like, look at me, like you've never even sold a house, but you're making our industry look like it's easy, and it's not. And people come in and they're like, oh, I got to make calls. Oh, I got to do open houses. I got to door knock. I got to learn social media. I got to do video. I got to do all these things. Like, no one ever said that. And, these people, we talk about getting enough at bats where they actually get their reps in, but they're not willing to do the stuff to get the at bats. They want to go sit and get on a Zillow call or something easy. They want to be spoon fed, but that's not going to give you a sustainable business. And I think, I'm fine with our population, where it is right now with, like 5 to 10% of the agents are the one doing the sales, but we're the ones that are selling a lot. Like, our agents will make money. None of them are going to be worried about paying their bills. Not only will they pay their bills, but they'll thrive. And I think agents, number one, too many of them are paying attention to the wrong people. I always say you got to pay attention to who you're paying attention to. I think they're unaware of what the skills are really required, and they're clueless about their confidence. Like, especially working with sellers, these sellers can be very intimidating, especially with artificial intelligence, when everyone thinks that they can just go to Chat GPT and know what their home is worth, or why isn't my home selling? Chat GPT says I need to do this. But really, it's the wisdom that we get from the experience that we have and from getting in the right rooms. Like, we spend thousands and thousands of dollars to get in the right rooms, and then we bring back that knowledge and wisdom and we pour into those that we lead. But there's a lot of people that are not doing that, just like some of these life coaches. It's like, what have you ever done to even give yourself that title? These titles, I think if people would get plugged into the right communities and then do real estate's not hard. It's just doing the same habits like we've talked about, and the consistency, and day in and day out, and never stopping, being relentless in that. You'll be wildly successful, but everyone wants that quick fix, and it's not there.
No, it's not. Go back to the paying attention to who you're paying attention to. Who should agents be paying attention to? Maybe even more importantly, who should they not be paying attention to?
It's the craziest thing. I always tell them, I'm like, there's a lot of brokers out there, and I'm a broker. I'm not the broker of record for our company, but I am a broker. And there's a lot of people that are going out there. I think right now there's a race to forget agents, to not forget agents, but to gather agents. And clearly you can see that with the coming together of Real and Remax. That was a play on Real's side for agent count. They're looking for agent count. Compass acquiring Anywhere. That's an agent count deal. They're trying to get agent count. The one in the belief is the one with the most agents wins. Well, guess what? If these agents aren't selling, there's no revenue. Nobody wins. But it's a play on agents right now. But at the end of the day, are you training the agents? Like, are you out there in the trenches with them, or is somebody in the trenches with them that's giving them the wisdom and the knowledge? And I think too many people are on social media and they're paying attention to influencers that may or may not have ever sold a home or scaled a business or run a team. Like, you've got to go look at what I've done. Like, I'm still I'll be in a house in 3 hours from now with clients in a $750,000 house. It's like, I do this every single day. There's no imposter here. And I think in the world that we live in, unfortunately, because of social media, you have a lot of imposters in real estate space, in finance, and in all things. But at the end of the day, ask for their resume. Like, when was the last time you actually talked to a seller? When was the last time you actually trained an agent? When was the last time you actually led something? Because historically, a lot of people haven't done it in like 10 years or so. There's a lot of people that have gotten fat on the way things were, and now they're sitting pretty, but they're talking this big talk. It's like, you don't have a clue what you're really talking about, because what you did 10 years ago no longer is effective today. This is a whole new world, and people have got to hone in to, I would keep your people that you pay attention to probably the number of your fingers, 5. Like I was telling our team today, when I look at people like you, I have mad respect for you, because I know you. You've been my coach. Like, I know you have a history. You have a history of performance. The rooms that you're in, the people that you have conversations with are people that others only wish they could get around. So your wisdom and your experiences are, oh my gosh, so priceless to anyone. But there's people out there, a lot of them, that will try to talk your talk, but they can't walk your walk because they don't have a clue how to do it. But unfortunately, because of marketing, people will follow them and follow them on a road to nowhere.
Yeah, a road to nowhere. I love that. Trish, as head of company, I mean, tons of sleepless nights, and just people have no idea. But what for you is always I'm always curious about the people decision-making process and the decisions that they make. Sometimes they don't think through it enough to make a decision. They just choice hop, right? They just like bite size over here. Let me go try this. Let me go try this, instead of thinking through and making a calculated decision. But for you as head of company, navigating the independent space into the EXP space, into the real space, into the rower space, like, for you as head of company and all of that responsibility that you choose to shoulder that burden, is there like decision-making filters? Is there a North Star that you're always bouncing against to making sure that you're navigating the company in the direction that, in the decisions that you're making?
Yep. 1000%. And it comes from you. And because remember, years ago, you told me, like, you have to, because you're big in goal setting, and you got to know, like, what is it? And you said this to me so many years ago. You're like, I need you to sit down and look, like, what does that perfect life look like for you? Like, what days off do you want to work? When do you want to work? What are your hours? And then you have to start reverse engineering. How much money do you want to make? What does that look like? And what does 5 years from now look like? What is 10 years? What is 30 years? Like, why are we doing this? And when you said that to me, it was so long ago, I have. And I know, and my number one goal, of course, is financial freedom. And that's always the path. And I'm not there yet. Well, how do you get to financial freedom? And in the industry that we're in, where it's ever changing and sales transaction count is down, and you've got to pivot, and you've got to do things differently, it matters immensely who you partner with, and what company you get involved in, and then what activities you're doing every single day. And then the people that you're leading. Like, I go to bed every night knowing I did everything I could to get these people to the level of success. I just told them today, I was like, you're all capable of being $10 million a year producers. When you sell $10 million a year in sales volume, you will make so much freaking money. There's nothing that you can't ask for and nothing you can't have. And my job is to get you there. That is my job. And I believe and know that with the resources that we provide and the skills and training that you get on a daily basis, that you will get there as long as you do the things that you're told to do. And I think in my world, if I could make sure that I'm doing the right activities every single day, keeping my focus in mind, like, and I said this to someone the other day, my big why is so my kids never have to wonder where they're going to go get a job, because this world is changing. Like, we don't know what jobs are even going to exist in 10, 20, 30 years, but I want to create that space where there's always opportunity. As long as you're willing to do the work, there's always opportunity. And I think, I believe that if you lead people the right way, that you'll be wildly successful and the money will always come. And for me, I pay attention to that. So I do know what I want the next 5 years to look like. I know what I want the next 10 years to look like. And I'm making sure that I'm aligned with exactly where we need to be, because I think EXP is an amazing company. It's 15 plus years now in the making, massive amounts of success, real. I have a different opinion about that, just for one reason or another. With Realty of America, I know the founders of this company. I know their work ethic. And for us to align and the opportunity helping build something at the ground level is a lot of work. But if we do it correctly, the rewards will be massive. And it will help me achieve my goal of my kids. And what's crazy, John, I have a friend of mine who is, his vision is to grow a real estate company and an independent, right? And he wants me to do it with him. And we're literally texting this morning. And I told him, blah, his name, I said, what you don't understand is what we're building right now with Realty of America. We're brand new at this. We're in year 2. What we're building is beautiful. Like, it's like when you start to sow and you plant seeds and you start to see things sprout up and then they start to bloom, and it takes time. Like, there's no overnight success in real estate. Things all of a sudden start to bloom, but behind the scenes and underground, there's been massive amounts of fertilizer and work going into that little plant. That's what I'm starting to see. Like you've said, the sleepless nights, the 7 days a week, behind the scenes, the conversations, the Zooms, the nonstop stuff. I'm seeing it now. The community is growing. The people are feeling just excited. And I told my friend that this morning. I said, what we're building, I can see it. And I'm not willing to walk away from my, number one, my commitment to help build this. That's number one. But number two, the smiles on people's faces, the hope that you see in people's eyes, that they're excited about this community. It's that, John, is priceless.
I love that. How important for you is, like, navigating into the right environment to be heard and be valued? How important is that to you?
Huge.
Yeah.
You hear the stories that you're the average of the 5 people you spend your most time with, and that there's so many people are like, oh, that's not true. It is true. And I'm a strong person and a very strong minded person, but your environment, good or bad, over time, it filters in, and you think that is the life that you want. And I was in a certain environment for 5 years, really. And I thought that was what I wanted. And they're wildly successful. This group that I was running with, great. And I, kudos to everything they're accomplishing. And it really wasn't until January of this year, I had like a light bulb moment. And I thought to myself, I don't even know how it happened, but it was like, I got some quiet time, like some of those times where you say, you got to get still for a minute and decide, like, is this what you want the next 5 to 10 years to look like? And I know I got clarity, and I was like, it's not, like, I don't want that. I know it was overnight. I was like, I don't want to be in that room anymore. I don't want to be in that environment anymore. Not because it's toxic. It's not. It's wildly successful, but not the way I want to do it.
Correct.
And I pivoted literally in February, and I detached. But before I did it, I was already seeking another path. Like, I want to create, if financial freedom is the number one goal, what is that path? What does that look like? How do I get there? I have to figure out how to get there. Who's there already and who can help get me there? Because and someone said this the other day, like, you can't go climb Mount Everest by yourself. No one can. You got to have Sherpas and guides and everything that can get you to the top. But if you look at the facts, most people die on their way down. They get to the top with Sherpas and guides and all that, but most of the deaths occur on the way down. And I'm trying to get to Everest, right? But I don't want to die coming down from there. Like, I want to get there and stay there, but I can't get there on my own, number one. And I certainly can't get there without the right rooms and the right environments. And choosing those rooms that I want to go into, I think, is so critical when you get clarity, and then aligning yourself. Like, this is what I'm doing, and I'm going to block out these other rooms. I'm not even going to be distracted by them anymore, because that's what it is. It's a distraction. And it's that shiny object syndrome that we all get. Like, oh, but they look like they're having a good time over there and they're all making a lot of money. I'm going to go try that. But I'm planted right here, right now. Like, why am I going to uproot what I'm planted building to go over there? Because maybe that's easier. It's not. Nothing is easy, period. Yeah. And that's what Tim Hale was referring to, was like, we ask for these easy lives, but the easy life, the hard work, the grit, all of that stuff, it isn't easy. But when you do all this stuff, the reward is a good life, a good person, and a good life, because it's all this stuff that we're going through that builds us to be able to sustain and then bring others with us.
Right. 100%. It is. And it should be hard right now. Right. And if anybody tells you how easy it is, they ain't pushing. They ain't doing anything. That's the only way. That's the only way. Like, if you are trying to do anything right now, it is hard, as it should be. So, Tricia, I want to flip the script here as we wrap up. One of the little sections that we're rolling into the conversations is taken out of what I feel the best part of Mastermind is, and that's the hot seat. So you've shared just a ton of great information. You're amazing as always, but I want to flip a little bit the script. You coach, agents in your team through some of their biggest challenges, but every one of us that are building head of company, we have our own ceiling. So let's kind of talk about yours, where you're bottlenecking, where you're bumping up against. What is the biggest bottleneck, the biggest challenge that you're facing right now?
Ooh, and that's easy for me to say, because I literally just talked about that in our sales meeting. No one ever wants to talk about it, but it's profitability. And, teams, I run in the team leader world and broker world, and everyone wants to talk about agent count. Everyone wants to talk about transaction count. Everyone wants to talk about sales volume, but no one talks about, are you making any money? And when you run in those rooms where, we did 1,000 transactions and we did 3,000 transactions, but okay, great. That's awesome. That's freaking so awesome. But is your company making any money? Like, are you making any money? Where is that? And I think that thin line, because again, you get caught up, because I'm in it. You get caught up in, well, I want to do that. Like, well, then how do I get to 2,000 transactions? Well, I can only get there if I have 90 agents, and these agents have to do this. Well, if I've got 90 agents, well, then how do I feed them? Well, let me get Zillow involved, and let me start getting all these third party where there's fees and there's big, massive splits. And as Zillow continues to do what Zillow does and take more from the team leader and more from the company, like, your profit margins are so minute that when you go through these markets that we're in right now, Houston is one of the toughest markets and has been. we've been in the top 10 worst markets now 3 years running. Our inventory is stacking. Home values have been falling. Sellers are some of them, a lot of them are upside down. They don't want to sell. So it's a very fine line of marketing, number one, and profitability. And is this even doable for the buyers and sellers right now? And if you take your eye off of it for a second, like, you're not profitable. And that's the biggest challenge, because the people pleaser in me wants to give everything to the agent. Like, here's everything. And the company doesn't need anything, but we can't grow or survive without air and oxygen. Like, so that's the money that comes into the company has to cover all of this stuff without me funding it. And that has been my biggest problem. And it's become crystal clear now that it's that saying, nothing changes if nothing changes.
Right. Yeah.
Profitability.
So when you crack this code, because I know you will, what's that going to mean for you and the people that you're leading?
Well, like right now, we've paused even adding anyone onto the team right now, because this has to all make sense. The math has to math, period. And at the end of the day, and I said it to them this morning, I said, this is the only industry where we can get up every day and go to work and not get paid. We make $0 because we just want to give everything back to our community, to our buyers, to our sellers. Like, who said that was okay? Why is that okay? It's not okay. And I told them today, I was like, I'm not okay with it anymore. I'm not okay with showing up and doing all that I do and all that I provide and not putting the company first. The company now has to come first before the agent, because if I can walk away anytime I want and be like, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore. And I can, but I said that I raised my hand and I said that I would help you guys be as successful as you possibly can, but I refuse to do it any longer without the company being profitable.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, just laying it out, what does it mean? What does it mean back to you helps navigate that. So
big time.
I love it. And, one of the cool things, obviously recording this and throwing it out there to, for folks to listen to is, being able to give the feedback, right? That's why we wanted to introduce the hot seat format, give you an opportunity to share the biggest challenge bottleneck that you're facing and what it would mean to solve it. And now let's throw it out, and we're having some fun. Anybody that wants to give some feedback to Tricia, you guys automatically get entered into, getting to a drawing when we do kitchen table, which is our, semi quarterly. We're, 2 to 3 times a year, strategic workshop mastermind. Kitchen table is kind of a melting pot of everything that I've ever ran or been a part of, the best of the best. We do it at kitchen table. So, guys, drop your feedback into the comments wherever you catch this episode and get a chance to come hang out VIP with me at the next kitchen table experience. So, Trish, as we wrap up and we send folks back into the trenches, what, for you is the number one thing on your mind besides profitability, growing the community? Any final parting shots that folks really need to be locked in on as we are approaching halftime of this crazy year?
Yep. Get crystal clear on what you really want your life to look like, because we can get so caught up in this daily the daily busyness, but is it really getting you to where you want to go? Are you happy doing what you do every day? Get crystal clear on that.
I love it. How can folks connect with you? How can they learn more about Rise and Thrive?
Oh, you can go to joinriseandthrive.com. Check it out. Everyone can jump on there. Always get a free 5-day pass. Love to have people go. Joinriseandthrive.com is our community. And it's a Monday through Friday community every morning, 8:30 a.m. Central Time on Zoom. And it's all things real estate and artificial intelligence.
So cool.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, if you need a guest to hop in, just let me know.
Yes.
Join you. I'll be there for sure.
Thank
guys,
you.
Please get a chance. Give Trish some feedback. Go check out Rise and Thrive. What Trish has been able to do is absolutely amazing. Been kind of in her corner for quite some time, and really remarkable what she's doing in Houston, all over Texas, all over the states. So thank you so much. So great having you back on.
Thanks, guys.
We'll do it again. Awesome. Thanks, Trish. We'll see you guys. Bye. Well, let's